Hi, Sandy here. It is Thursday morning and time for this week's Simple Strategy. And I have been really thinking a lot about things that we were taught in this week's podcast. Janice talked about one thing that really struck me, and that was this idea of how our kids are facing global competition. And so it's been rolling around in the back of my mind, and it tied into something that I have been teaching for years. Judy and I actually talked about it in the Real Talk segment of the 5th episode, episode 5 on forgiveness, in that Real Talk segment. If you want to just see the Real Talk, you can also get that on mightyparentingtv.com, and the episode is called Feeling Like You Don't Measure Up. But the thing I was teaching was that we have this tendency to take a glimpse of someone else's life and then compare it to our bad moments or our worst moments. One really simple example of that is when your house is just a disaster and you're walking around in this mess, or you know it's dirty and it just needs to be cleaned, and you're watching the dog hair float around or looking at the mud on the kitchen floor. And through your brain runs a little video film, right? It's these clips of everybody else's houses when you've been in them. But most of the time when you're going to someone else's house, they're expecting company. Now, sometimes that's a more formal, ooh, we're having a party, or we're even having a family get-together. And sometimes it's more casual, but it's still usually that you're expecting people to come over. And what do you do before someone comes over? You pick up the junk and you clean up your house. But that moment that you're in, where you're already frustrated with what's happening in your home, you don't think about, wow, other people must experience this too, or I wonder how they manage that. You just think of their beautiful, pristine house and go, look at them. They're amazing. They do this so well, and I just stink at this. I'm a terrible person. I can't even keep my house picked up. What's wrong with me? How can I be a good parent when I live in this mess? And we do that with all kinds of areas of our life. We do it with our kids. We do it with our work. We do it with the way we look. We do it with the way we're eating, our exercise. Any place where maybe we're not thrilled with what's happening in our life, we look around and compare ourselves to someone else. Well, Janice's thoughts started going through my head, and I thought, well, not only are we now comparing to people in our own sphere, we're comparing to what we see on TV and what we see on Facebook and what we see in videos. And so that too, that comparison level has gone global. It has expanded. And so as I was thinking through, what we wanted to do for this week's Simple Strategy, what I'd like you to do is focus on noticing when you are comparing, whether it's you comparing yourself, whether it's you comparing your kids, whatever area that is, but start noticing when you're doing it. Because if you don't notice it, you certainly can't change it. And you can even ask other people to help you with this. Just tell your family, tell your close friends, hey, I'm trying to get a handle on comparing myself to other people. I had a friend recently comment to me, as your friend, I've just noticed that lately you keep saying, Sandy, don't be stupid, or that was really stupid that you did that. I hadn't even realized I was doing it. As soon as she mentioned it, I started noticing how often I was doing it. Is it a big deal? No, but over time, that's really not the message I want to be sending to myself. So if you start noticing those comparisons, then you can just do a little tweak on them. So now if you notice yourself comparing yourself to the neighbor, as they're heading out the door in the morning, they're all put together, the kids are all put together, and they're getting in the car, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm standing here with peanut butter and jelly handprints on my butt, and they're walking out the door like that. How did that happen? Instead of doing that, just do a little tweak and maybe remind yourself of something that you like in your life, something that you're doing well. Remind yourself of, if you're looking at something your child's struggling in and you're comparing it to somebody else's child and how they excel in it, remind yourself of what your child does well. Just flip those thoughts. And something that can help too, if your brain gets on this little train, this little thought train, just imagine a stop sign, or tell yourself literally in your head, say stop, and then do the new thought. It just shifts your brain over. And so as we stop doing those comparisons, I think it will help cut out the unhealthy competition that we put in our lives. Because competition is good. Competition is healthy. Competition drives us. But it doesn't do those things when we feel defeated before we even start, when we feel like a failure before we even start. We need to have a launching off point. So let's stop the comparisons and give ourselves a launching off point. And in the comments below, share, please. Share things you've learned. If you've worked on this before, if you have observations, toss it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.